how do you create enrichment opportunities for kids who maybe have not had opportunities to build their efficacy around STEM?
Yeah, and nobody is going to make fun of you for going to a boxing gym.
This is the Discovery Files podcast from the U.S. National Science Foundation. I'm Nate Podker. Experts agree that science, technology, engineering, and math will drive new innovations across disciplines. To remain competitive going forward, our nation must continue to design and build a thriving innovation economy, supported by a citizenry that is invested in the STEM enterprise. Since 2007, Detroit's downtown boxing gym has been providing a free academic and athletic program to students aged 8 through 18. They have seen long-term, life-changing impacts and a 100% high school graduation rate. Recently, a 5-year study in partnership with Purdue University was launched to understand more about the far-reaching impact of their STEM-based programming. We are joined by Amanda Case, Associate Professor of Counseling Psychology at Purdue University, and from Downtown Boxing Gym, Jessica Hauser, Executive Director, Remi Napier, STEAM Lab Coordinator, and Kenneth Cain, a student researcher on the study. Thank you all for joining us today. Can you tell me what is the Downtown Boxing Gym?
The name of our program is rather deceiving. It's not actually about boxing at all. It's truly a space that young people come for years consistently, where they have the opportunity to, really figure out what their hopes and dreams are. And it's up to the staff to build that scaffolding underneath them. So we do hyper-individualized support for every one of our students based upon, areas that maybe close some gaps, but then, like I said, build upon their dreams and, opportunities, exposure that lead to internships, that lead to college selection and career. So it's truly that lifelong pipeline and support. So we're located on the east side of Detroit. However, we pick young people up from all over the city of Detroit and neighboring communities because long-term relationships is the aim for us. And so our kids come minimum 3 days a week, most come 5 all year round for years. Our students can start new from 8, it's like 3rd grade to high school graduation. And then we formally support through post-secondary or whatever that, post-high school decision is into career. So we have that full pipeline of support. So now we can provide transportation, we can provide food. We have a incredible, we call it our STEAM lab, but all of our STEM activities, the heartbeat of the program has always been the same.
Now, Remi, I think that the STEM lab she just mentioned is where you come in. Can you tell me a bit about how you got involved with the project there?
I have a history with really formal education. I was a school teacher before this, and I really wanted to get outside of the box of a structured public school curriculum. And a friend told me about BBG, and I was blown away. I've been in love with it since.
Amanda, I'm going to switch to you. How did you become aware of this program and involved with it?
So part of what I also do as a professor is to do research. And my research is really focused on thinking about how informal learning spaces, so spaces that youth are in that are not schools, right, that are not part of the formal education system, how do those informal learning spaces support youth? Support youth in terms of their educational trajectories, but also just support their well-being. So when I first met Jessica and got introduced to the Downtown Boxing Gym, I was on faculty at Wayne State University, which is a university in Detroit. And there was an article that had come out in one of the local magazines about the gym. And I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. So I did what you do, I guess, which was that I sent this completely cold email to the contact email that was on the website and said, hey, my name is Amanda. I'm a researcher. This sounds amazing. Here's the work that I do. Is there any way that I can support you? Jessica still has that email, by the way, which is fantastic. And remarkably, Jessica responded, and we've been working together ever since. So it's going on 11 years now.
And the program has been hugely successful. I should ask you about some of the success stories. I understand there's at least one example where the parent then also went to college with the child.
Yeah, we've had parents that, got inspired by their kids' passion for school and ended up going back, getting their GED, and then attending college with their kid. That's happened many times. Parents that have come and utilized our resources to get themselves into careers that they are very passionate about, which is incredible. We having, parent involvement is super important. We have our own version of a parent booster group. We also hire from our parent group first. We always send out job postings to our parents before posting it out into the big world. And so we have several parents on staff, several alumni on staff. It's truly a family environment.
And beyond family, the whole community there. That's really,
absolutely
really amazing.
Yeah. So we've supported over 1,300 students. We have over 300 that have gone, start to finish, and 100% of those students have graduated from high school, which is incredible. 98% have gone off to post-secondary. And the 2% that didn't choose post-secondary went into a career. So everyone is moving forward on a really positive path, which is amazing. And then maybe Amanda can speak a little bit to some of the extra academic factors that we measure, because I think it's something that we're really proud of.
Because of the relationship we've had, I think it's been this amazing privilege to think about what underlies those outcomes, right? Because the grades and the graduation, those are outcomes. Those are not that's not the developmental stuff that's happening. And so over the years, we've identified, based on the values of the gym and what their programming is trying to target, what we call extra academic factors. That's just scholarly language, right? So those are things that support academic performance, and those are teachable, right? It's amazing. So things like self-efficacy, right? A student's belief that they can be successful with effort. Sense of agency, people's beliefs that they can affect change in the world around them. We measure sense of purpose. We measure social relationships with people outside of the gym, relationships with people inside of the gym. Because the work is situated in a gym, we also do measure physical self-efficacy. And that's not physical ability, but rather how are students feeling about their ability to sort of comport themselves, right? And how are they feeling about their well-being? So we're able to measure a whole assortment of variables, all of which have been shown to be really important in long-term outcomes. And because we're able to measure those, we're able to think about what are areas in the programming that can be bolstered, right, to either increase that impact or to continue facilitating those outcomes. But it's it's pretty unique to have such a robust measurement and evaluation plan in place in an out-of-school time program. And that all comes from the gym's commitment to really staying focused on the data and making sure that they can say with confidence, with empirical evidence, that the gym is having the impact that they want it to have.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're fortunate to have one of the students on the call today. Kenneth, thank you for joining us. I want to hear about how you heard about Downtown Boxing Gym. How did you become involved?
So during fifth grade, my mom was looking for a biking program for my sister. And she did some research. She found DVG. It was free. It was close by. They offered transportation. So she signed us up for it, and we've been here ever since.
What about it has really resonated for you? What difference has it made for you?
It gave me a whole lot of opportunities. Like, they taught me STEM. They took me to places. They took me to colleges. They gave me job work experience. So like during the summer, GDYT. They helped me with my education, brought my grades up. It allowed me to meet new people.
Remi, can I ask you about the curriculum there a little bit? Can you tell me about some of the classes you're teaching or some of your approaches to connect with people?
So I would like to start off by saying STEAM Lab here at the gym, it's an opt-in, student-led experience. They choose to come here every single day. And what I mean by student-led, I'm constantly asking them, hey, what's something new you want to learn about? What's something that you want to dive more into that you can't really dive into it at school? All my entire curriculum, it's their curriculum. They made it. I just kind of put in the nicks and knacks into it.
Right, really facilitating what the interest is, which I think probably engages people a lot more when you're like, this is what I want to explore. This is what I want to find out about. What is the secret of the success there? What do you think it's just following interests of people? What do you think makes it connect so well?
Well, here in Detroit, in public school settings, the classes are so full, and educators, teachers can't fully dive into the topics that they choose as in their curriculum. So our students here will come from school and saying, hey, for example, I really like drones. Can we do something with drones? That's when I say, hey, let's not just buy drones. Let's buy parts for a drone and build one. And then we dive even further by saying, hey, let's make a curriculum out of this. So we actually made a flight school curriculum where we will design and make our own airlines. And from there, we are building our own flight simulators. So it's from drones to actually flying planes. And yeah, as broad as possible, keep it going.
Can you tell us what your approach is from an academic perspective?
I think one thing that's really important to note is the way that this project came about, because this is a collaborative project. It's what we call an engaged scholarship project, which is really seated in the needs of the context. So how the grant came about was actually in one of our weekly meetings. Jessica and I were talking about the STEAM Lab, and she had mentioned the fact that in a lot of out-of-school time spaces and a lot of nonprofits in general, it's really easy to get initial money to start something, but it's a lot harder to get money to continue it. And they had sort of found this with the STEAM Lab. They got this great funding. Jessica can tell you where. This great funding to start the STEAM Lab, but again, trying to get that continuous funding. And as a result of that conversation, sort of like, well, would it be helpful if we had some data about the impact of the gym and how it's affecting the youth? And we're like, yeah. And that is what started this whole thing. So the project has been collaboratively designed from the very beginning based on questions that the gym had about the STEAM Lab. DBG has been very effective, very successful at getting students jazzed about STEM. The population that DBG serves, which is almost exclusively students of color, almost exclusively students who are farms eligible, so economically marginalized youth, that's the hardest population to get engaged with STEM. And part of the reason for that is what Remi was talking about, that schools, especially in higher poverty areas, are very under-resourced, right? And so the things that get kids jazzed about STEM, like hands-on opportunities, and what Remi said about like, what are you interested in? Let's go with that, right? That's really hard to do in an under-resourced school.
Absolutely. Well. Now, Kenneth, can you tell me a little bit about your interest in approaching the research end of it and what your role will be as a research assistant?
So as a research assistant, I will be like the bridge between the students and NFF. So like instead of having like a stranger, somebody that don't know, come from outside, ask them questions, kind of like an interrogation, they decided to have students ask the other students questions. That's pretty much my job.
Right. And what appealed to you about filling that role? What made you want to do that?
Well, I just like talking to people, asking them questions. I really like talk to people with like similar interests. And I like love STEM. I love the STEAM Lab. I love experiencing new things. I like hearing like different people's perspective, or like what I like. Made me want to hop on this opportunity.
I'm going to backtrack from part of your answer there and ask you what initially got you excited about STEM. What about the program captured your imagination?
Way back when I first started, like the STEM Lab first started in the gym, I had to try it out. Like my friends went in, so I went in, right? And it just like caught my interest. It was just so fun, so engaging. I was just learning, experimenting with things. If it didn't work out, it was so fun. It was so engaging. So I just fell in love.
Awesome. Jessica, I'm going to swing over to you and ask about the grant impact. What do you think this study, how will it help the program?
I mean, there's always opportunity for growth and lessons learned. And so to really be able to nail that down and have data behind like what we think is working or what we think is not working is will only help feed into our individualized plans for our kids and help reinforce programming within the walls of DBG. And then, there is the secondary benefit on the funding side, the legitimacy of, a National Science Foundation grant, 5 years of research that will then be behind the work that we're doing in this space is really important to us to get funding and also to help really level up the youth development out of school time space. I think, far too often it's not, everyone's doing the absolute best they can, right? Like us almost 17 years ago, it was just based on lived experience and gut instinct and, what you believe to be true. But I think, we really need to emphasize and level up this field so that all kids are getting high quality programming.
Right. It'll put you guys up as a great case study for anybody who's trying to approach the STEM world at all.
Exactly. Because the way that Kali designed DBG, it was intentional to attract kids that were being fed the same narrative that he was growing up, which was that, he was told over and over he was going to be dead or in jail by the time he was 21. He wasn't going to amount to anything. And not that every single young person in our space is experiencing that, but the point of boxing as the hook is really to attract kids that are getting labeled as angry or bullies, or kids that are getting bullied, that are not stepping in our doors saying like, I love science, I love math, I love tech. Like that's just not the reality for many of our young people as a result of adults failing them. Like that is not a statement about the kid. That is a statement about society as a whole. And so I just think there's also just a lot of beauty then to have all of this data behind like how to really make magic happen with incredible young people that deserve every opportunity.
There's a lot of out of school time programming that is sort of advertised as STEM focused, right? There's math clubs, there's robotics clubs, and that's fantastic for kids who already feel efficacious in STEM, right? It's like, if I feel good about robotics, I will go to that robotics club, right? One of the challenges that we have is how do you create enrichment opportunities for kids who maybe have not had opportunities to build their efficacy around STEM. And so what's extremely unique about the STEAM Lab in the downtown boxing gym is the fact that it's embedded, right? So kids are not going there for STEM programming, but they have an opportunity to explore STEM programming in this broader context. And as a result of that, one of the things that this project is enabling us to do is to think about like, how do kids who maybe don't have that initial STEM efficacy, how are they entering that space? And what's happening in that space that's making it feel safe and welcoming to kids, so that then we can think about how can that sort of be expanded and how can that access point be broadened for a lot of
you
people.
used the word safe there, and that's what had popped in my head as you were going, that really you're making that safe environment for if I had this interest, but in my peer group it's not cool or whatever to explore it. Here's this avenue where it's encouraged and welcomed and supported.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and nobody is going to make fun of you for going to a boxing gym. I'm just going to put that
Right.
You never have to tell the world what you're doing. You're just going to a boxing gym.
Remi, I'm going to ask you, how do you think this study and the data that comes out of it will support your future work there?
It will give me and our young CEOs just more opportunity, just expanding our STEAM lab in general. That right there, it's going to do so much for our program. It won't just be me as the coordinator. I could have someone else doing coding or someone doing robotics while I do some other science experiments. Like, it gives us so much room to grow. And I am so excited for that, because then we could cater to even more kids.
So the last formal question I had, I'm going to give you to Kenneth for the last word here. What are your plans for the future?
As I graduate from high school, I am planning to be an automobile engineer, going to college at Lawrence Tech. Into like the jump, they gave me a whole lot of opportunities over the summer. This last summer, I went to a summer engineering program at Lawrence Tech for a week. I just fell in love with the campus, with the material, with the teachers, with the staff. So I decided I wanted to go there. The gym, heard that, they helped me out. They did everything they could to get me into Lawrence Tech, and I have been accepted.
Special thanks to Amanda Case, Jessica Hauser, Remi Napier, and Kenneth Cain. For the Discovery Files, I'm Nate Podker. Discover how the U.S. National Science Foundation is advancing research at nsf.gov.